Hi, welcome to Learning Monkey. I am Raghu here. In this class, we'll discuss about how to create objects and how we are going to call methods that present in the class. In our previous class, we clearly discussed about the intuition of class and objects and we discussed about methods. Please watch those classes and come back here. The link for the playlist is provided in the description below. Coming to today's class, assuming that you already have the previous intuition, with one example we are going to understand how we are going to create an object and call the methods. This example is very important. We are going to discuss the execution flow. This execution flow, you need to understand that. If you understand that execution flow, writing the code and identifying the mistakes that present in the code is very easy. So you have to practice according to the execution flow. During the practice, if you do that, coding is very easy. So coming to today's example, so our file name is test. We are using Eclipse IDE, hoping that you know what file name means. We open a file and we create classes in that and we run that file. The file name is test. In this file name, we are writing a class called firstExample. In this class, we are having two methods. One is add method, second one is multiply method. This add method is going to take two input variables and it is not returning anything. That's why it shows void. This multiply method is going to take two input variables and it is returning an integer type of variable. So we are having two methods. This class closed here. After that continuation, we have one more class. This class name is class test. See, the class name and the file name should be same. One of the class should have that file name. That's why then this is mandatory in Java. This discussion made in our first classes, test. So in this class we have mentioned a method called main method. This main method is a static method. So what static methods we discuss in our coming classes. As of now, remember that our execution starts here from this method. So execution starts from this method means whatever the code that present in this method, this code is going to be executed. That's it, line by line, first line, second line, third line, fourth line, fifth line, sixth line. This is how execution go. So now coming to understand what happens when we create an object, how this execution happens. So the first line is going to be executed. What's the first line? System.out.println of started execution. So it is going to display our output is going to have started execution. After executing this line, the second line is going to be executed. Int C, we declared a variable, and this C first, the next line goes to first example OB is equal to new first example offer. So we need to understand this line. This line is used to create an object for the class first example. See here, try to understand this. What is this? First example space OB means we created a variable for the class first example. Similarly, int x, what is the meaning of this? X is a variable of type int. Similarly, OB is a variable which belongs to class first example. That's the meaning of that. So we defined a variable. So whenever you defined a variable int x, is there any value in this? No, there is nothing. Empty variable, there is no value. Here also same, if you eliminate this equal to new first example of, we created a variable that related to class. We call it as a reference variable. This OB is a reference variable. Okay, but the next continuation, equal to means we are assigning something. New is a word which is used to define the object, means allocate some space to this object. New first example of. New, allocate memory for which class? First example class. So now object has been created. So whenever memory is allocated, object is created. This discussion made in our last class. If you want to execute the code, you need some memory location. then only you can execute. So what type of memory it is going to allocate, how much memory it is going to allocate, all these things will be discussed in our next class. As of now, remember that whenever we created an object of type firstExample and assigned to a variable called OB. So what's the meaning? Means whenever we created this object new firstExample of, it is going to create some memory. Assume that in the random access memory, this visualization how memory will be, we used many times in our beginning classes. So in this random access memory, somewhere it is going to allocate memory. Assume that it allocated the location 2000. Now OB variable reference to the memory location 2000. OB contains 2000. Means it is referencing to that memory. That is what happens when we create an object. Once we create this object, we can use the methods that present in that class. So how we are going to use that? OB, it is positioning the 2000 location. So that's why it called it as a reference variable. OB means object. From this object, call the add method. We use the syntax called dot. OB dot add off. We are sending two values, 1, 5. Why we are sending two values here? Add method contains, it is going to take two inputs. So whenever you are calling that method, send that inputs. Those inputs will come here to that method. So whenever you call this method OB dot add of 1, 5, our execution shifts from here, this line, to the line which belongs to this method. So it starts executing this code. After completing execution of this code, then our execution continues in the main method. So after executing the add method, then go to next line. After executing this, then go to next line. That is how it is going to be executed. So OB.add of 1, 5. Now A, B. A is having value 1, B is having a value 5. So it starts executing this code. Int C, we defined a variable called C. C is equal to A plus B. 1 plus 5, 6. System.out.println of, after addition, we are displaying C variable. Means what we got in C variable? 6. So our output is, after addition, we are displaying, after addition, it is 6. So the execution completed, this method execution completed. Now execution shifts from here to the next line. This line has been completed. Now going to the next line. What is the next line? C is equal to OB dot multiply of 2, 5. Why we have written C here? Because this method OB dot multiply of, it is going to return some value. After completing execution of this method, it is going to return some value. That value should be placed in a variable called C. In order to save that value, we are using a variable called C. What type of value it is going to return? Integer type of value. That's why we defined C as int type. In the above method, it is not returning anything. That's why we didn't use any variable here. Z is equal to, C is equal to, like that. This is not returning anything, but this method is going to return some value. What type of value it is returning? Integer type of value. That's why we are using. So the value which we got here after executing multiply method, it is stored in C. So what is multiply method? Multiply. Now execution shifts here. A is equal to 2, B is equal to 5. So multiplied by 2 multiplied by 5, which is a 10, returning C, which is 10. So the value which we got here is 10. It is stored in C variable. Now the execution moves to the next line. System.out.println of, after multiplication, the value is 10. This is how it is going to be executed. This is what you need to understand. What happens when you create an object and how you are going to call the methods that present in that object. Whenever you create an object, memory is going to be created and that memory is assigned to the object variable. The starting location 2000, it is going to, how much memory it is going to assign, we are going to discuss in our next class. As of now, don't think about that. How much memory? Why we are going to get 2000? The first location address is going to be stored here. These basics covered in our first classes when we discussed variables and data types. So this is how execution, creating the objects and using the methods that present in the class. Hope you understand this example. If you have any questions regarding the concept, please post your questions in the comment section below. Thanks for watching. If you haven't subscribed to our channel, please subscribe to our channel and press bell icon for the latest updates. Thank you.